Hi, everybody. It is Wednesday, not a Thursday. We are here with you today. We are talking about gluten and your autoimmune disease. Does it affect it? What do you feel if you are sensitive or allergic to gluten and all of the ins and outs of it? As you know, probably I am celiac disease, so this is a topic that really resonates with me, and I am very passionate about, as with Jessica, dealing with autoimmune disease herself. So, if you are new to our community, we're going to introduce ourselves and hop right in. My name is Casey Kephart. I am a functional medicine nutritionist. I am the founder of the Feel Good Formula, and I work with women with all different types of autoimmune diseases to get you back to the activities you love to do, trash your symptoms, get your life back, basically. And I reside in St. Petersburg, Florida. Jessica?
And I'm Jessica Melnick. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, the founder of the Anti-Arthritis Method, the host of the Happy Joints Arthritis Solutions Group, and I help both women and men with various forms of arthritis get back to living life the way that they choose to, not the way that they have to. And I live in Saskatchewan, Canada, where it is full on winter. But such is life.
Well, you don't have your Christmas sweater on today, so we're
No, I am wearing another very warm sweater though today. I need it. It's very cold today, but it's supposed to warm up in the next 5 days by about a good 10 degrees. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also very blessed that I get to work from home. So I don't have to venture out very often in this weather. So
yeah.
very lucky that way.
Exactly. We have like 30-mile-an-hour winds right now outside. So it's not cold though. So that's the bonus of this.
Gotcha.
Okay, so gluten, anyways. I'd be curious to know how many people with autoimmune disease that are watching this still eat gluten. So if you can just put that in the comments for us, we're not judging at all. It's just we're just curious. Put it in the comments and let us know, or let us know the symptoms that you get from gluten if you do know. And we'll go over symptoms today as well. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with what gluten is, right? We hear it in the media all the time. We hear good things about it. We hear bad things about it. We're kind of here just to give you the facts and kind of our opinions on what we feel is correct for gluten and autoimmune disease. But of course, nutrition is very controversial and very opinionated. So take what you want and research what you do want as well. So first and foremost, gluten. It's a protein found in wheat, rye, and barley, like cereal grains and grains used to make breads and other baked goods, pastas, beers, alcohols, crackers, packaged foods, dressing, sauces, thickeners, MSG, personal care products. And like the list just goes on and on and on and on about what products have gluten in it. And it hides in these little places where you don't think there is. And the one that stands out to me most is Euro meat. I don't know why, but it's just meat should not have gluten in it, and Euro meat does. So people with celiac disease, please do not eat Euro meat or ask beforehand. So why are we talking about this, right? A lot of autoimmune diseases, and I want to say most to all, are is gluten is a trigger for the autoimmune disease in a flare up and getting worse in causing a leaky gut to then provoke an autoimmune disease. So there's a lot of people that say, well, gluten isn't bad. We've been eating it since the Paleolithic times, and our ancestors ate it, and they were super healthy. There was none of this stuff beforehand. You are so right, and I am on that train too. But it is not the same wheat, rye, and barley that we've been eating, that we ate in the past 50 to 100 years ago. The molecular structure of the gluten molecule has changed in the wheat, rye, and barley product. So through GMOs, through pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and genetically modifying it in general, we're eating more chemically and man-made things of the gluten molecule than the actual um, molecule like God put on earth for us, basically. Um, so we're eating something that our body cannot recognize anymore. And that's why we get so much inflammation when we eat these kinds of things. And it's not just gluten, but gluten is the most prevalent right now. Jessica, I'll let you add anything in there that you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, our food quality has changed drastically, and with that, our it's really gone down our food quality. And so, I was recently in Europe, and their food quality is very different than North America. They, and I'm speaking in generalities, they're much more conscientious about the source of their food. They use a lot of heirloom grains, so a lot of grains that have not been genetically modified over time. They have a lot of different farming practices, traditional farming practices, a lot of organic farming practices. They use a lot less GMOs, a lot less sprays, pesticides, all of those things in their food. So I typically don't eat glutinous things, but when I was there, I did, because I wanted to try all the different traditional foods, and I did much better than I would at home.
Mhm.
Of course, I wouldn't recommend eating gluten. In general, if you have an autoimmune condition, or if you have celiac disease, or a particular autoimmune condition that's really affected by gluten. But there is a huge difference in food quality. And one of the things I wanted to get into is, what does gluten actually do to the body? Because, like you said, Casey, there's a lot of controversy around it. Sometimes you
Mhm.
hear people saying, well, no, you can have gluten unless you have been tested and you aren't celiacs, then it's fine. But gluten in general causes systemic inflammation in the body. So it means just low grade inflammation overall. It directly creates holes in our gut, so otherwise known as leaky gut, or intestinal permeability. And our immune system goes haywire when this happens, because it's trying to protect us from this gluten by breaking it down. So when we have these particles leaking out of our gut system, our immune system is just on high alert, and it's trying to protect us. So in autoimmune disease, the gluten molecules don't actually break down, and our immune system remains in this state of hyperactivity and hypervigilance. And gluten actually mediates zonulin release. And what zonulin does is it basically unzips the tight junctions in our gut, which creates leaky gut and autoimmune conditions. So gluten creates leaky gut in everybody, whether or not you have an autoimmune condition. And it's just really important to be aware of this so that you can make a choice that works for you.
Yeah. And I just want to explain very briefly on what a leaky gut is again. And we keep saying it unzips the tight junctions, it pokes holes in it. So the analogy I'm just going to keep repeating till we stop these Facebook lives is think of your gut lining as a solid line in the road, a solid yellow line. Nothing's going to get through it. It is set. And then when you have a leaky gut or it pokes holes in the gut, think of it as a dashed white line in the road. And in this dashed white line, now undigested food particles can go in, toxins, bacteria, and that's when you get this flush of symptoms and you start to feel worse and worse and worse. It's because your body now is ramped up the inflammation and your immune system to attack everything that's gone into the bloodstream. So we want to make sure that we have a tight zipped gut so nothing can pass through that's not supposed to pass through. And gluten directly affects that gut lining and the inflammation, whether you have a autoimmune disease or not. We all just have different thresholds for how much attack we can take. So a person who is in a very high stress job, goes home to a high stress lifestyle, who smokes, does alcohol, who eats the standard American diet, they're going to have less um, barrier to having your gut poked holes through. There's a better way to say that, but um,
You're just more susceptible to
Thank
having.
you. Yes, more susceptible to having a leaky gut. But if you do your stress management and you have you go do your movement and you're positive and you eat a good diet for your body, you're going to be less susceptible to that leaky gut because you're doing the good things to keep repairing it. So with people who do have a gluten sensitivity or celiac disease like myself, there are certain symptoms that go hand in hand with it, but this is just a short list and everybody is susceptible to different symptoms. So my symptoms will not look like Jessica's and Jessica's symptoms will not look like mine. But there will be some commonalities. So some people who do come to me and tell me their symptoms, I'm like, wow, that sounds like a gluten allergy or a gluten sensitivity. And we'll try eliminating gluten. So some of these look like, hold on, let me get Gustav out of the way. Is like skin irritation. So eczema or some acne or the little like red dots on your skin is a big telling sign for gluten. Bloating, a lot of GI upset like bloating, gas, bowel irregularity, whether that's constipation or diarrhea. Joint pain is a very big one. Headaches is also a big one. Headaches often tell you that you do have a food sensitivity, whether that be gluten or dairy or corn, but a lot of times it is gluten or dairy for headache and migraines. Stomach pains, chronic fatigue, brain fog, which is just basically you're not able to think clearly or be productive, or it's like a big rain cloud in your head. It's hard to think normally. Mm-hmm. In addition to any other autoimmune diseases that you might be feeling, gluten could be triggering that as well. And gluten can prevent you from healing your autoimmune disease, and it can keep on triggering flare-ups for you. So I want to urge everybody just to, if you are still eating gluten and you're not on that gluten-free train yet, I want to urge you to just be mindful of your body on when you eat it and what you're experiencing. 10 minutes after you eat to like 5 days after you eat, because as we talked about yesterday, a food sensitivity oftentimes doesn't show up till day 3 to 5. So you want to make sure that you're being mindful of what you've eaten previous days as well.
Absolutely. Another thing that's really important to know about is cross-reactivity. And basically what this means is that gluten can cross-react with tissues in the body, but also other foods that you're eating. So when your body tags gluten as harmful, or it recognizes gluten as harmful, and it gives it that label so that it recognizes the gluten, it produces antibodies against those gluten molecules. And these gluten antibodies can cross-react to other tissues and foods in the body, which is your immune system getting confused and attacking what it is not supposed to. And the top two tissues that gluten antibodies attack is the thyroid and the cerebellum tissues. So this is where you will see things like Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune form of a low functioning thyroid, which I see in my clients a lot. It's very active, Hashimoto's and rheumatoid arthritis at the same time, or osteoarthritis. Even though technically osteo isn't considered an autoimmune condition, we can treat it the same way. And also when you look at the cerebellum tissue, your brain tissue, that's where you're going to have some of the neurological autoimmune issues and problems like multiple sclerosis. So really, really scary. Just something to think of.
Yeah. Everybody with Hashimoto's, I recommend getting off the gluten and the dairy just because of the cross-reactivity of it. It directly impacts the thyroid. I don't know the statistic of how many women have Hashimoto's, and I say women because we are more susceptible for autoimmune diseases. But if I had to pick, it would be like 1 in 2 women have Hashimoto's. And I would say more people than not are still eating gluten and dairy with Hashimoto's. So just planting seeds in your head here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anything you wanted to add too about cross reactivity, Casey? I know you can explain this a little bit better than me. And I know I would love to hear a little bit about your story as well, because
Mm,
you have celiac disease.
yeah. So cross reactivity means in layman's terms that your body is recognizing other foods as gluten. And I haven't memorized all of the ones, but the big ones are dairy, oats, and I think corn as well is one of them. So when you eat these foods, your body might have already tagged it as a gluten molecule, and it's fighting these foods the same way it would as if you ate gluten,
Mhm.
and it would attack the tissues the same way as it would gluten. So just be wary of that. And that might be a reason why you have food sensitivities as well, because your body thinks it's another molecule that you're sensitive to, not actually the oat or the corn or the dairy molecule.
Mhm.
Um, so my story is it was 17 or 18. I entered college when I was 17, and obviously college is very stressful. It's a new routine, it's new people, and my stomach started hurting every single day. Like I couldn't even eat anything without my stomach hurting. And one day I remember I was sitting in my boyfriend's car at the time eating a squash, like a root vegetable squash. And I just hunched over the passenger seat and I was just like crying because it was like I never went in labor, but I would think that this would be like labor pains I was experiencing. And I was like, I'm calling the doctor. I called the doctor. He did an endoscopy on me. A couple days later, he said that I had celiac disease because my small intestine was inflamed and it had these ridges on it that told him that it's celiac. At this time, celiac wasn't a huge thing. It wasn't well known. There wasn't a lot of gluten free products on the menu. Being a gastroenterologist, he really couldn't consult me on nutrition either. And he gave me this 20-page packet of celiac disease and said, Here you go. Like, have fun. And so I go home that day. I'm like, Gosh, I'm really hungry. Instead of a wheat bread peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'm going to have a white bread peanut butter and jelly sandwich. No, I checked the ingredient label on that, and it was enriched enriched wheat bread, or enriched white wheat bread, or whatever it says on there. And that was my very first eye-opening experience of gluten, and that it is in basically everything. So as I started to navigate this gluten-free lifestyle, I wasn't getting better though. My stomach still hurt. It didn't hurt as bad, let me tell you that, but I still had the GI upset. I still had the gas, the bloating, the bowel irregularity, the stomach pains, the mood disruptions, the sleep disorder, the inflammation, the lack of like endurance that I used to have. And I was 18 years old, 17 years old at this time. Like I should be thriving right now in energy and brain functioning and living my life eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But I wasn't. So while I was doing this gluten free lifestyle, I was eating about 3 bowls of oatmeal a day. I was obsessed. It was convenient. It was easy. And I knew I could eat it because it was gluten free. Little did I know about cross reactivity, inflammation, carbohydrates, and variety of foods in general. That this was making my autoimmune disease worse. I was also still eating dairy, which I kind of knew I shouldn't have because I was like lactose intolerant as a kid, and that kind of just never goes away. Um, so I was still living an inflammatory lifestyle, even though I was eating my salads and my oatmeal and my gluten-free foods and my nuts, which found out is a food sensitivity for me. So as I started really digging more deep into that, I was doing my nutrition degree as well. I heard of paleo and I started to do the whole paleo thing and lowering my inflammation, getting these other inflammatory foods out of my body for my autoimmune disease. But in that time between when I found paleo before being diagnosed with celiac disease, I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's, because once you have one autoimmune disease, you are way more susceptible to have a second autoimmune disease. And then I was diagnosed with Lyme's disease, which was chronic because I had it as a kid, and it just decided to show its head since I've been in this inflammatory and stressful state. So, to wrap all of that up, I want to say, moral of the story is just going gluten free isn't enough. And I want to say for 99% of us, it is not enough. For some people, it might be, but again, they're not as susceptible to inflammation, or they're doing other correct things for their body. But so if you are sensitive to gluten, there's probably some more foods that we need to cut out to keep your healing journey going and have it go an upward trajectory instead of just this linear line. And we need to address stress, because that is a direct systemic inflammatory for the body, and you're going to have more food sensitivities if you are in this high stressful state. So be mindful of your body, eliminate more than just gluten if you can, and manage your stress.
Yeah. No, I couldn't say that any better. Like you said, going gluten-free alone isn't enough to bring all that inflammation down if you're suffering from arthritis or another autoimmune condition. And that's where Casey and I come in to help. So if you are ready to get on this health journey and address the symptoms that you're dealing with, because you're ready to feel better and you're ready to try something different, contact us. Let us know. You can send us messages through Facebook or Instagram. You can comment on this post. You can send us an email. We're here to help you when you're ready, and we guide you through this process, because we know it's not easy, but we want you to feel better. We did it for ourselves. We've done it for our clients. We both went to school for this. So we have a lot of background knowledge, and we can explain kind of the method to the madness, because I don't know about you, Casey, but I really think it's important to know why I'm doing what I'm doing and how that is actually going to benefit me.
Yeah.
This isn't just something that you and I invented, on our own and just, decided, oh, well, this is something that worked for us. No, this is all based in science. And yes, it works.
Yeah.
So
you have to attach meaning to something, right? You can't just do it without any meaning. And before I get my other thought, last year we did a gluten-free challenge, and I feel like that was super successful, especially for the people that were in it. So let us know in the comments if you'd be interested in another gluten-free challenge or something of that nature, or just more Facebook Lives about gluten. So I know it's a huge topic under controversy. So let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. And we are planning on being back next Tuesday and Thursday at our usual times, unless otherwise something comes up. And yeah, it was wonderful to have you guys attend and visit us today. And we'll be back next week. Have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend.
Bye, everybody.